Hello Pineapple Mamas, welcome back to my IUI series. Today we're going to be talking about IUI procedure. So we're going to go from point A all the way to point Z. So if you're interested in all the in between from consultation to insemination, then keep on watching. Hi, my name is Ashley Nicole and my channel is all about helping you through infertility and your journey to parenting. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. We are going to be talking about IUI procedure from start to finish. So first things first, we're going to start from point A, like I said. So you have to find a doctor. You have to go get a consultation with a fertility specialist, endocrinologist, or endo for short, which is the lingo that we use in the trying to conceive community. And we are going to go speak to them about our infertility. They're going to ask a lot of specific questions. They're also going to ask about your period and your cycles and how long you've been trying. And then they're going to send for testing. This is to determine what is causing your infertility. Sometimes there is undefined infertility, so we just roll with it at that point. But if you're interested in the specific testing required for IUI, I will link it up here somewhere above my video to IUI testing. Anyways, I know it can feel a little bit daunting when you go and make a consultation and finally make that move to trying with a fertility specialist. I myself actually canceled my first appointment. I was like, no, I don't need this, not happening, not gonna do it. Because I didn't want to admit that I had been having issues trying to conceive, even though it had been 15 months and I totally had been having issues. But taking that first step was definitely scary. So take the step. I promise you it is going to change your life because you're going to be taking the step to having your baby. The next step that's necessary for that. So take it, punch fear in the face and just go for it. I promise you, you're not going to regret it. It's kind of like that saying that they have with working out. Nobody ever says, I wish I didn't work out this morning. They always say, I wish I had worked out. Catch my drift? Okay, so moving on, now you've had your consultation, you've done all the tests, and they have cleared you for IUI. So the next thing you do is you give them a call on the first day of your full flow of your period. Not just when you're spotting, because basically they want to know exactly when your period is starting so that they can then schedule your IUI insemination. Now, after 3 days of your first full flow, such a mouthful, on the third day of your cycle, they are going to do an ultrasound. Basically what they're doing is that they're going to check that your uterus looks good and that you don't have any cysts on your ovaries. Now, usually this is also checked when you're doing a medicated IUI cycle, which is Clomid. It's that little drug that makes you ovulate more than one egg. So it increases your chances quite a bit to get pregnant. And that little drug can make those cysts really big, so they just want to make sure that you don't have any around your ovaries. Don't worry if you're feeling a little bit lost. I do have an IUI series that really goes into detail on what IUI is and all these tests. I'll link that playlist up here above again somewhere, and you can just kind of start at the beginning. I suggest you start with what is IUI and then work your way up to this one, because this one's just going to have everything together for you. Okay, so if they do clear you for the IUI treatment, then what they're gonna do is they're gonna start you on Clomid that day, which is the third day of your cycle, and you're gonna take it for 5 days. Now, if you're not doing Clomid, don't worry about this. Let's just skip past that. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna come back about 11th or 12th day of your cycle, depending on when your cycle started, and they're going to do another ultrasound. So this ultrasound is to see if you have any mature follicles in the ovaries. These are the little fluid-filled sacs that have an egg inside. And when they have an egg, they start to get bigger and bigger. They're pretty much looking for them to measure between 17 and 18 millimeters for them to say, hey, when I trigger your ovulation, these eggs are going to release. That's kind of the size we're looking at. It can definitely vary. 7 to 18 millimeters kind of means that it's getting bigger, but you can see them all the way to 22 millimeters, I believe, when you're about to ovulate. So what they're going to do is they're going to check and see how many eggs you are about to ovulate. And hopefully what you have ovulated is 1, if you have issues with ovulation, or 2, if you are trying to increase your chances of ovulation, but they're kind of looking at that happy zone. They don't really want to get more than 3, because really your body's only meant to carry 1 baby. Twins are beautiful. That is not what I'm saying. I am just saying that your body really is just meant to nourish 1 baby. So they want you to get pregnant the safest way possible. They are not trying for multiples. They are just trying for 1 baby. So sometimes there is the possibility that you might ovulate more than 3 eggs, and they will give you the choice if you want to proceed or not, or they will cancel the IUI. but that is circumstantial. It really depends on how many eggs you ovulate. Hopefully you get at least 2. That is what I think is the happy zone, and that is also what I ovulated my second round of IUI when I got pregnant. All right, so there is 2 mature follicles and they're measuring perfectly. Now what? Now what they're going to do is they're going to trigger you. So in the infertility community, basically that means is they're going to force your ovulation. So they're going to give you an injection. You're either going to give it to yourself or they're going to give it to you at the clinic. I can only speak from my experience. They gave it to me at the clinic. So they inject you with HCG. This is the hormone that your body actually already produces when you're pregnant. So it forces ovulation because it raises all the levels. And again, that's more covered in my videos. So moving on, they're going to trigger you. And that is going to force ovulation within the next 36 hours. So what you do after that is you go home, possibly feel ovulation. Some people do, some people don't. And then the next day you're gonna come in and possibly do your IUI. Most of the time we're hoping that those 2 follicles did in fact burst, and when they see that in ultrasound, they won't see any follicles, and they'll know that because they disappeared, that means that you ovulated. So some physicians will proceed if you have not ovulated so that the semen is waiting, and some physicians will say come back tomorrow and maybe you'll have ovulated by then. I think it just depends. I've only been in the side that I had ovulated after my trigger injection, so that's all I can speak to. But let's say both of those eggs did burst and you ovulated. So now you're gonna proceed with IUI. If you're liking this video so far, give it a thumbs up. Now, I cover this in my What is IUI video, but basically your partner is going to give a sample of semen. They're either gonna bring it from home and it has to be taken within the hour to the clinic, or they're gonna go to the clinic and they're gonna give their sample there. Now, when they give that sample, after that, they're going to wash the sperm. In layman's terms, what they're gonna do is they're gonna wash it so that the best, strongest swimmers are the only ones that are left, and that's what you're gonna get inseminated with. That wash usually takes an hour, so you can go eat or be on your phone, whatever you want. After that hour is up, you're going to get inseminated. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna prepare you basically like a gynecological visit, and they're gonna use one of those, what is it called? I have to look it up. A speculum. Okay, so they're gonna use a speculum very similar to how it is when you go get your pap smear yearly, and that is so that they can more easily insert the catheter and inject the semen. Next, what they're gonna have you do is they're gonna have you read the vial where the semen is, and they're gonna have you read your name, just so that they know that this is the right sperm going to the right person. We do not wanna make that mistake. Now they're gonna walk you through exactly what they're gonna do next. Basically, they're gonna inseminate you. So this does not require any sedation. It is only mildly uncomfortable. I would say it kind of feels like you're getting some cramps from your period or, indigestion. And what they do is that they insert the catheter all the way into your uterus. It is a very thin catheter, and then they inject the sperm. And that's it. And then they take it out. When they're pushing the catheter into the uterus, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable. They do have to make sure that it is completely inside the uterus. So they might move around a little bit in there and it might feel uncomfortable. Just try to breathe through it and try not to tense up, as hard as I know that is. Then they're gonna let you know that they have now injected you with the sperm, and they're going to prop you up a little bit on your behind and keep you laying down for, I believe it's 15 to 20 minutes, just so that the sperm has some time to get to those fallopian tubes. I know that some people think that this requires sedation because it's commonly confused for IVF, which is in vitro fertilization. This is the point basically when they do egg retrievals in surgery. So this is not the case. It's very different from IVF. I'll have a series on that later. All right, so now you've left the clinic and you're like, what do I do? Maybe some of you will be having a second IUI the next day, which is what I did. My doctor does back-to-back IUI so that it increases the amount of sperm that is waiting for the egg. So I came back the next day and we did everything all over again. We did the sample, we did the wash, and then we did the insemination. Now, after that, you have the dreaded 2-week wait. I hate it. Everyone hates it. It's horrible. You're basically waiting and you have no idea what's going on. So my suggestion that I tell my pineapple mamas is have a project. Even if it's a DIY or you're gonna make a wreath or whatever it is, have a project that's maintaining your focus on that so that you don't maintain your focus on this. because it can be really nerve-wracking not to know if you're pregnant or not. Honestly, I'm a like chronic researcher. I am a huge symptom spotter, but just to tell you my specific story, I had no symptoms when I was pregnant. But I kid you not, for 15 months, every single month, I had pregnancy symptoms, I swear.
I always felt like my boobs hurt. I always felt like I was cramping, implantation bleeding, hormonal, you name it.
All those months, I always felt like I was pregnant and I wasn't. The 1 month that I got pregnant, no symptoms. I literally like got a little bit of a cold the day before I found out I was pregnant, and that was it. So I don't know. You know, you can do whatever you want, but I'm saying that it's gonna be more helpful if you have a project, try to focus on something else. Okay, so fast forward, we made it through the 2-week wait. Yay! What you're gonna do, if you haven't already tested 19,000 times like I did, which I'm guessing you're gonna test. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go into the clinic and you're gonna have a blood test. They're gonna do a beta test. This beta test is to see your levels of HCG. HCG is that little hormone that makes those 2 pink lines show up. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Don't test too early because you can get a false positive from your trigger injection. Remember that little injection that forced you to ovulate? Well, that one is HCG. So if you test right after that injection, it's gonna show like a positive because you have HCG in your system, which is what makes that little line turn pink, right? So don't test too early. If you want to chronically test like I did, then do it. But what I did was I tested my HCG out. So I tested, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 5 days. Yeah, I'd say 3 or 5 days after my trigger shot, and I started to see that positive line turn a little bit more faint until it was negative. So I knew that after that, because I had already gotten a negative, anything that was positive would actually be an actual positive pregnancy test. So you can test it out. There's a lot of forums online that kind of give you tricks on how to test it out, but I think that's the best way. Keep testing until it's negative, and then after that, your positive is actually a positive. I don't suggest you doing this if you don't want to actually see that positive, because it can be a real mind game if you see that positive. But you know, up to your discretion, do whatever you want. I'm just letting you know, don't test too early. Please don't get a false positive. It is gut-wrenching. And I know one of you are probably gonna ask me, but I actually tested my HCG out on day 8 after trigger. It can take up to 14 days though, because we all metabolize that hormone out of our body at different rates. All right, anyways, so that blood test for the HCG levels is going to show an MIU by ml. You don't have to worry too much about what that means, but basically they want to know how much HCG is in your system. What they're looking for is about 25 MIU by ml to say that you are in fact pregnant. And then if it's positive, they'll continue to test your HCG levels to make sure that the pregnancy is viable. So I pray that that test comes back positive for you and that you have a successful IUI. If you don't get discouraged. 1 in every 3 to 4 eggs, depending on your age, is the only viable egg. So it can take a few times trying with IUI. Like I said, I had a first failed cycle. I know how difficult that can be, but don't lose hope. Keep trying. You're doing the right thing. You're giving it your all. If you did get that positive and you want to know a little bit more on what to expect the first trimester at your fertility clinic, then I will also have a video about that coming up. So mamas, don't forget, check out the IUI series playlist. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below. I am more than happy to talk to you about it. DM me on Instagram or send me an email to ashleynicole@pineapplemamas.com and I will get back to you. And of course, I want you to hit that subscribe button so you can join our Pineapple Mamas tribe, where we are women supporting other women. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, mamas, stay hopeful and stay happy. I'll see you in my next one.